Let's go get some boba. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Tea Time with the Boba Baddie, featuring your host, Nikki, which is me, and welcome to our 5th episode. And also, I think this is going to be the last episode I'm going to do for 2020. So, with that being said, this episode's going to be about what I learned this year. But before I dive right into this podcast, I have a song that I feel like will kind of set the mood for what this whole pod is going to be about. I feel like I felt this way almost this whole year, and maybe you guys might have felt this way this whole year too, or maybe at least part of the year. But we can all agree that this year was terrible. Like, no lie. I mean, or terrible at some point. I don't know. But you guys probably know which song this is, so take a listen. I feel like many of you guys have heard that song, but I just put the radio edit for this podcast just because I don't want to be too out there. You know what I mean? But you guys know what I mean. And if you guys want to listen to the real version, then go ahead and please go listen to it because I feel like it really sums up how I felt this year. But even though I kind of felt that way, I was kind of reflecting the past few days and just realizing how much I've grown in this year, despite all of the hardships and all of like the things that made 2020 so bad for me. I was trying to find things that were good about this year or what did I learn from this year. And honestly, a lot of character growth, a lot of character development happened this year, which I'm pretty happy about. And hopefully, you guys can relook at what you guys did this year and try to find the good and the bad. But with that being said, here's the 10 things I learned in the year 2020. My list is going to be different from your guys' list, but like if you guys want to like tell me some stuff that you might have learned throughout this year, like please let me know. I also stream this podcast now on YouTube, so you guys can comment on there too and give me your feedback. So it'd be kind of cool to hear what you guys learned and what you guys did throughout this year and how you guys grew. So please let me know if you guys want to. But this list is in no particular order, but I tried to save the things that I had the most thoughts on towards the end. So, yeah, just hear me out for the whole thing. And hopefully, you guys can kind of relate to some stuff. And maybe you guys had your own journeys with the same stuff that I have on my list. And you guys can kind of relate to it or think of it in a different way. So, the first thing I have on my list is communicating or communication. Starting off 2020, going into my spring semester, my last semester of senior year, we had a lot of events going on, and not even just like with events, but just like, like friendships and all that. And, or like friendships, relationships, like anything. I have been on kind of like a whole journey of communication and kind of like making myself feel like, it's best when you do communicate. Before going into 2020 and for a good part of 2020, I felt like me communicating with others, maybe if something that they did that upset me or like anything like that, like I felt like I shouldn't communicate because I felt like I was giving people problems if like I spoke my mind or whatever. And like I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings and all that, so I ended up keeping things to myself. But at the same time, that's not the most effective way to solve things. And that's what I've been on a journey on because I try to say something, but then I'm like, oh no, I hope I'm not hurting their feelings, or I hope they don't think of me in any other type of way because I don't want to come off as rude or something that I'm speaking my mind about something. But during this whole year, I realized that, it's okay to communicate. It's okay, like as long as as long as when you're communicating, you're being respectful of like the other person or people, and you're like honestly just hearing each other out because that's what communication is all about. And I feel like so many things went wrong this year due to miscommunication. If you only said something Or if we only talked about it, we could have sat down and talked about it and could have gotten it solved right then and there instead of kind of feeling like, oh, like maybe I should like distance myself from this person because they might think of me like this or what, like whatever the circumstance was. But then, like half of the time it wasn't even true, or like people didn't think that way. And then when you guys finally do communicate it, like days later or weeks later, you're just like, oh, that's what you meant. And it's just like you spent so much time, or like you spent however many days dwelling on what ifs or assumptions instead of just communicating. So communication was definitely a journey that I still feel like I'm on. I'm still trying to make myself feel okay with, just bringing something up, because it does upset me. If something upsets me, I should say something, but like not do it without any ill intent, I guess. Like I'd say something because of A, B, and C. You did A, B, and C, and that's why it upset me. And I just want to hear you out and, ask why. So, yeah, that's the first thing with communicating or communication. The second thing, and the second thing is karma. Karma is very interesting. I don't know if you guys like believe in karma, if you guys don't believe in karma. I f- I don't know. It's like it depends, but I feel like I am. I feel like I do think karma is a real thing cuz like we're all human. We've all done things that we're not proud of, things that we wish we didn't do, or things that we could have handled better but ended up hurting someone. And I felt like 2020 was just my year of karma. And hopefully in 2021, like all that karma kind of like went away or that bad karma went away because I worked so hard just to, make things right with those who I've hurt, or make things right with the universe, I guess. But yeah, karma, I felt like this whole year was just karma to me, like bad karma to me. But at the same time, I'm taking this as a learning experience, and you guys should be taking this year as a learning experience too. And maybe sometimes karma is what you need, bad karma is what you need in order to really learn your lessons and really show you, like, to your face, either what you've done, that was bad or whatever, or, you know, what you need to improve on, because this year was definitely a year of self improvement. The third thing on my list is my own style, like finding my own style. If you guys knew me back in middle school, if you guys didn't know me back in middle school, don't worry about it. But like, I feel like all throughout, not even middle school, but like when I started like dressing myself for school in elementary school and going into middle school, when I like pick out my outfits, and honestly, a good part of high school too, I was honestly just finding whatever other people were wearing and getting that same thing, like whatever was on trend or what everyone else was wearing at school. And that's what like it wasn't me, but like society standards, or like just like how school was and how people would think, it's just like I always wanted to fit in. I always wanted to fit in. So, what's one way I could do that? By dressing like everyone else. But throughout this year, I mean, this is still also a work in progress, but I've been really trying to figure out my style and figuring out what suits me, what type of style clothes work best on my body, what makes me feel confident, what makes me feel good on the inside and on the outside. I've always admired people who have curated their style, some people that I know on social media or like that I used to go to school with. I admire their style so much. And I'm just like, I'm so jealous that they have like this style that's like you look at them and it's like, oh, that's so this person. And like, I hope I get to that point where I could do that with myself and, express me through clothing and my style, my fashion, my makeup, my hair. And hopefully, in this year, I've really started realizing, like, I'm getting to a point where I'm expressing myself more with like what I like, not what everyone else is wearing. Not the same type of shirt that everyone bought. I'm trying to get pieces now that suit me. And hopefully you guys can kind of understand that because I feel like a lot of us growing up, we all kind of all wear the same things, right? Like I honestly can't think of any examples right now, but I hope you guys kind of understand what I mean. But I've been just really trying to go with my own style and express myself, and like just be unapologetically myself. And hopefully in the coming years, I can just be unapologetically myself and be okay with that and not care what people think of whatever I'm wearing or anything like that because they're not wearing it. I am. But yeah, my third is my style. So hopefully in 2021, I keep going up that ladder of style, but who knows? I honestly don't know at this point. But the fourth thing on my list is that it is okay to say no, but just saying no to anything in general. Growing up, I sometimes I still do feel this way, but growing up, I felt like I should never say no to people because I felt like I was genuinely disappointing people. I was hurting people's feelings for me saying no. Growing up, like people would ask me, "Hey, Nikki, can you do this for me?" Or like, and it's like, I really don't need to do that. It's not my responsibility to do those things. But did I say no? No, I didn't say no because I felt like I was going to burden someone else if I said no. Like that was their burden, but they're trying to put it on someone else. And sometimes that was me. But I never said no to people just because I always felt like I would hurt their feelings or I'd lose people if I said no. But, going into 2021, I'm trying to get more in the mindset that, it's all right to say no to things and it's not okay for people to be upset with you saying no or to be disappointed in you for saying no because why should they in the first place, you know? But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say on that one. But yeah, number 5, I feel like this is something we all kind of can relate on is that it's okay when things don't go to plan. 2020, we felt like we had so much plans. We had plans for the end of like my senior year or plans for the summer, plans to go hang out with your friends during the summer, plans to move out to your dorms, not even just like freshmen in college, but like anyone in college, people like moving, anything like that. I feel like a lot of our plans got adjusted. Notice how I said adjusted and not changed because a lot of us are still going to school still, but it's just we adjusted to what we could do at the time or at these times. And so for me, I am in college, but I am doing it at home. Even though I really I really don't want to be home. But that's besides the point. Like for me, I had so many dreams and goals this year that I feel like I didn't really get to accomplish a lot of them. And it's kind of sad that I think that and it's kind of sad now that I think about it because 365 days, that's a lot of days. And to feel like you didn't accomplish anything or almost nothing kind of sucks. I'm not saying that I didn't accomplish anything, but it's like the feeling of I could have done more. I had so many expectations for this year. Like everyone kind of felt like 2020 was the year of accomplishing all of our goals and dreams. But now it's more like going into 2021. Oh my God, that's hard to say. 2021, revisiting all those broken dreams or just like dreams that were just left behind and picking them up and making 2021 the year that we wanted 2020 to be. And that's completely okay. Like, out of all of the things that are on this list, I feel like this kind of was one of the ones that hit me the most because I had, being a senior, knowing like regular high school life from my experience, like my whole school years, to then like, when the whole pandemic hit and it's like everything just like went on pause. And it was just like, wait, but in High School Musical, they go to a prom, or the basic high school movies, they go to a prom, they have the graduation. And like, that's what all of our mentalities were like before this pandemic. And then when things started not going to plan and, you know, um, friendships broke up, or I wouldn't say they broke up, but like, friendships took their own routes, relationships took their own routes. And I'd always think, even now, I'm like, I keep wanting to think that I would be so much happier if this pandemic never happened. I'd have everything that I've ever wanted. But as time went by, I had to be okay with the fact that all that didn't happen and that it was okay that it didn't go as planned, because I wouldn't be the person I am right now talking to you if it weren't for all of the things that happened this year. And number 6 is kind of a continuation of the fifth one, which is people drift apart, but it's not the end all be all. Like, I definitely think a lot of my friendships that I made over the past few years have drifted apart, and it's been a struggle for me to kind of reach out sometimes. Or I didn't want to bother people, to be honest. I didn't want to bother people because it seemed like everyone was like doing their own thing, living their own lives, and everything became kind of awkward, and people drift apart, and like friendships drifted apart, relationships drifted apart. Like, oh, I feel like a lot of us went through something like that this year. Um, but to me, I'm a firm believer that things could always change. Like, even when people drift apart, it's not like they're never going to cross paths again. But I mean, I'm also not saying that, you guys are going to cross paths again. All I'm saying is that if the time is right, and if things just align for both people, or like for that group of people, they'll come back together. And who knows, after all that time apart, just makes the whole like group or people, just makes everyone stronger and makes those connections stronger. And yeah, it was just, I feel like in the beginning of the year and when the whole pandemic started, I was really I was really sad that, you know, for not even seeing each other for like a month, it was like I didn't have anyone anymore. And it was just getting really sad for me. And like, I just had to come to terms that, you know, obviously times are different now. And a lot of people have found their priorities in their lives. I mean, in their lives or at this moment, like they have their own priorities or they figured out their priorities, and people drift apart. And it sucks because I hate when I have like a relationship with someone, like friendship, relationship, whatever, just a connection with someone and it drifts apart. And like, I always leave myself thinking, like, what did I do? Like, did I not talk to you enough? Did I not, like, what did I not do? Because I felt like it was my fault that we were drifting apart. But at the same time, it's like a two-person thing, it's not just you. Or like, or even like in a group of people. Like, it's not just one person's fault. But I mean, there's no one's at fault. It's just life was going. Life was just going on. And with everything that happened this year and all the craziness that went on, a lot of people, lost, like, connection with even maybe some family, because everyone just, like, drifted apart. But it's up to you if you believe that, that's not the end all be all. To me, I feel like if you believe you guys will cross paths again, or, like, you and your friends will cross paths again at some point, then work on yourself and get to that point. But at the same time, what I was, like, learning from this whole year is that as I'm, kind of waiting for that time to come, for relationships to kind of drift back together and just, like, reconnect and, just, like, yeah, just reconnect, I have to also focus on myself. I can't keep dwelling on what I want to come back into my life, because if that's what I'm doing, then it's never gonna come back. So, like, I feel like in this year, I've learned to, and, like, I do care about a lot of people, like, more than they might even know, but I feel like they don't really know. I care about them a lot. I don't know if you guys know who I'm talking about, or, like, I don't know, like, if you're listening and you think this is applying to you, it probably is. I don't know. I don't know who's listening right now, but with those who, like, meant a lot to me at some point in time, I care a lot about you guys, and even if we have been distant lately, please do reach out to me. I'd really like you to reach out to me. But at the same time, you guys got your own stuff. I got my own stuff. And I hate saying goodbyes. So it's always like a see you later type of thing. But it's just, it has to come back at the right time for, just for anyone, friendships, relationships, anything. It has to happen at the right time in order for that that connection that you guys had to either rekindle, or just to really show that, we actually don't work out as friends, as significant others, as whatever. We don't work out like that, but that's okay because we had that time to reflect on ourselves. And when we tried to see if it could work, it didn't. But the flip side of that is that we could drift apart, work on ourselves, come back together, and we're 10 times stronger or even more. It's just, you never know. And yeah, you just never know. And you might never know that. But yeah, hopefully you guys can kind of get what I'm saying with this. It's just been a struggle this year because I've always had someone around me. I've always had a group of friends around me, someone distracting me. And lately, like, especially lately and this whole year, I've kind of been left alone quite a bit. And at first, I was not taking it well. Being 100% honest, I was not taking it well. I was blaming myself for why people weren't texting me back, or, like, maybe just no one wants to check up on me or whatever. But, like, recently, it's just like I feel like none of that was the case. People just had their own things to do. We're all going through our own struggles that no one sees. So, that's understandable. And especially with how hard things have been this whole year, it's okay. It's okay. And I mean, like I said in the beginning of number 6, that it could it could maybe not be the end all be all to that connection. It just has to happen at the right time in order for it to stay. But it is also life, so life keeps going on no matter who walks in and out of your life. Like, your life isn't going to stop because a person or a group walked out on you. It's not going to stop. You just got to keep going and doing you. And I feel like as long as you're improving yourself, everything will start falling into place. And who knows, the people that drifted apart from your life may come back and things will just be better. Number 7. I know I talked a lot about number 6. I'm sorry, but here's number 7, is that there were so many great things about 2020 that was just around me. Great things, great people, great experiences were around me. I just needed to look up and notice. I feel like, especially when the pandemic started and we went on lockdown and we were running out of toilet paper and people were, like, almost fighting each other to get, like, the Lysol spray or whatever. Like, when things were going to chaos like that, like, borderline, like, feeling like it was gonna like be like a zombie apocalypse or something. I don't know. But it was just so different. It was like night and day from just that last week when we didn't think that we'd be living in a world where you can't go into a store if you don't wear a mask. You guys kind of get it? Like, once that pandemic hit, or when it started, I looked down and there were so many great experiences, great things, great people around me, but I couldn't feel how great it was. I couldn't appreciate how much, instead of really celebrating my graduation and feeling happy that I accomplished everything I accomplished. And, like that's like closing that chapter of my life. And or even going like to really like tell my friends that I got accepted into my college, or getting that chance to like say goodbye to all my friends and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I was always dwelling on the fact that graduation was online, or dwelling on the fact that I couldn't see my friends and I couldn't have said goodbye. I didn't have this, I didn't have that. But if I only looked up and noticed, I still graduated. I still finished strong, or as strong as I could have, honestly. Being 100% honest, I finished high school. I was celebrated by the people who mean the most to me. I got accepted into the college that I was really wanting to get into. Um, and just stuff like that, and just having all that support around me. I feel like I didn't appreciate it fully in that moment because I was so focused on the fact that didn't have that normal high school life. I didn't have blah blah blah. I didn't have this, I didn't have that, instead of looking at what I did have. And I regret that now when I think about it, because it's just like I wish that I just lived in the moment, and I wish that I really appreciated it as much as I should have, because there were so many great things that also happened in 2020. I mean, everything that's on this list, yeah, it probably came out of some bad experience that happened in 2020, but I came out stronger by the end of this year. It's just, I wish that I looked up sooner and realized more of there's so many great things out there, and there's just so many things that I could have appreciated more. And yeah, I felt like I really focused on a lot of the bad this year, instead of focusing on, like the things that really mattered more than any of the small minor things, like whatever happened in your guys' lives, like the small things that we didn't get. We were more sad about that than like, and we put all of our energy into being sad over those things that we didn't get, instead of realizing how much good there was, also realizing who our true friends are, realizing like realizing and appreciating those who were still like our support systems at like these hard times. Or for me, like I really just needed to look up and notice. And that's one of the things that I want to walk into 2021 doing, is to really take in the moment, live in the moment, appreciate everyone and anything that's in my life, even if it may just be a temporary thing. Maybe just for that chapter of my life, they'll be there, or I'll be feeling this type of way. But just to enjoy everything as it is right now. And if it doesn't work, then I take it as a lesson. But hopefully in 2021, I could keep my head up and look at all the amazing stuff that I do have and what can be, instead of what could have been. I had to learn to love others, but also love myself. If you guys know me personally, but I watched you care too much about these people that like don't care about you, or you love these people too much. You just like love them too much. That this movie, Hello, Love, Goodbye. And number 8 on my list is I can give all my love and effort into people. Not even just a significant other, but just even to friends too. I could put all my care and love into people and honestly not get anything back. And a lot of the times I was okay with it, or I deal with it, to be honest. Like I wouldn't be like really okay with it, but it was something that I ended up being used to. And people always tell me, like on Netflix, it's another Filipino like romantic movie. But in this movie, they're having this conversation, and the girl's like, "You love too much." Because I think they were talking about his past relationship with this one girl that he was madly in love with. And so she says, this is all in Tagalog, but she says, "You love too much." And how he replies is, "Isn't that how it's supposed to be? When you love, it's all or nothing. If you hold back, then why love at all?" And when I heard that, I was like, that's exactly how I feel. Why would I like do all this, Why would I hold back love if it's love, Like why then what does it mean if I'm not going to love to my fullest potential? Despite not getting anything back, and I should have, taken that into consideration too. But why am I going to care if I'm not going to care 100%, 110%? But this year I felt like it really got unhealthy for me. Like, it's good to care about people. It's good to, give your all for people. But how it started spiraling for me, why love when you're not going to love 100%? It was too much. And it really ended up destroying me and only me. And it wasn't fair to me to go through that. And that's where I just have to like start loving myself. And recently, as of the day that I'm recording this, the past few days, I've been really starting to love myself again. And I haven't been happier in a long time. And hopefully in 2021, I can keep on my journey of self love and caring for others, but also caring for myself. And like how I said in, I think, number 6, how people drift apart, it's okay and you can care from a distance. I'm trying to be okay with that, with if that's what I have to do in order to love myself and but still feel like I'm caring for those people, then that's what I'm gonna have to do. And yeah, like what they said in that movie, like it really resonated with me because it was just like, like of course, like isn't that how love is like supposed to be, Well, like what is it if you're not gonna love to your fullest potential? What is it? But as much as I'm giving love to everyone else in my life, I should be giving myself that same amount of love. That doesn't just apply to other people, it should apply to myself. And that was something I really realized throughout the past few days, honestly. And this whole year, I was really putting myself through a spiral of like, but I love my people in my life. I want to care about them and all that. But it was like it ended up being like I was forcing them to accept my love and care. And that's something that I should have never done. But now I've like learned from that, and now it's like caring from a distance and loving them from a distance and just wishing them the best. And, while they're doing their thing, I'm going to do my thing and love myself and learn to love myself, learn to be happy and yeah, just loving others, but also loving myself because you only have yourself at the end of the day. My own. But the only important opinion that ever mattered was my own. But I felt like my own opinion didn't matter and I lost myself. And those times when I didn't have honestly anyone to talk to, I would start freaking out because I'm just like I was like almost like feeling like I was dependent on having someone to talk to every day, having someone to text or whatever it may be. Like I wouldn't do anything the whole day because this kind of relates to number 9, which is losing myself. And I feel like now thinking about it, I should have done losing myself then loving others and loving myself, but it's okay. You guys will kind of get what I mean. But with how much I loved others and how much I did not love myself, I lost myself in the process. And I felt like this year I kind of built myself to feel like I could only exist if I'm loving other people, if I'm caring about other people, if everything I was doing was for other people. I wasn't doing stuff for myself and doing stuff that made me happy, solely happy, just me. Every decision that I was making during this year, honestly, it wasn't 100% my full decision. I always thought about someone, like whoever it was, like I'd think about like, oh, how would they feel? How would this person feel about it? And everyone was busy, and it's like I just waste days. I've honestly wasted so many days this year just waiting for calls, waiting for someone to text me. But like even though like yeah, it does sound sad, it was just I lost my own self. Like I keep saying, like on this pod that you only have yourself and that should be more than enough. And that's something I'm still trying to work on. But like I really lost myself this year, and I gotten as low as not feeling like I mattered at all. Like I genuinely felt like I was nothing, people made me feel like I was nothing, or people like even if they didn't even say anything to me, like saying something to me or not saying anything to me, like I felt like I was nothing. I didn't feel like anyone cared. I didn't feel like people wanted to know how I was doing. I felt like if I were to tell people how I was doing, they're just going to pity me or whatever. And I didn't want that because I thought about how they would feel. Maybe I'm going to make them uncomfortable by talking about how I feel and venting about how I'm really feeling because I don't want them to feel some type of way. So I just won't say anything. That was my whole mentality. And that was so unhealthy for me. And I really lost myself this year. And that's probably one of the things I'm least proud of. It's just how much I lost myself. But by the time I'm recording this, the past few days, like I said, I've been doing really good. And because that's what I wanted to do, not because so and so said to do it or people say it's a good idea. It's solely because I wanted to do it. Like this podcast. Like, I feel like this podcast kind of is giving me a platform to vent and not feel bad and just be myself and, just be like 100% honest on here and, showing the real me because I realized that I'm not really like lame. I always thought I was lame, but I'm not. And I feel like there's people that do enjoy talking to me and they tell me that and, I want to just find myself again. And I feel like I'm doing that a lot through this podcast, talking about how I'm feeling and kind of reflecting on all this stuff. And I'm really getting a sense of like who I am and my morals and all of that type of stuff. Like my podcast is one of the ways that I'm finally finding myself again. And that's something that really does make me happy. So losing myself was such a huge thing that happened to me in 2020, but it's honestly been turning around so much lately. And hopefully, things just keep going up because I feel like I've been at such a low point in my life. Like, I think this is the lowest I've ever been throughout my whole life. So there's no other direction other to go than up. So hopefully in 2021, I can keep finding myself more and, just like so much more character development. At this point, so much more character development. And yeah, like hopefully you guys can kind of see me on that journey and either see it like through Instagram or whatever, or hear it through the podcast as these keep coming out. And just really getting a sense of who I am, of like just being the real me. So yeah, I might have said, I get it or whatever. Like if my friends were gonna talk to me about something because I was going through something, but like if they were to talk to me about it, I'm like, yeah, and like I know, like I know that it's not making me happy, but blah 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 blah. And now we are at number 10 on my list, which I feel like I honestly have been talking about this whole entire time, was just finding my own happiness this year. Like I've been saying in a lot of the other things that I listed before this, I looked at all the negative things in my life and not the good things in my life. I dwelled on drifting out of my life and kind of at those times thinking they're never going to come back. Being sad about things not going the way they planned, me carrying all this unnecessary weight because I couldn't say no, me feeling like I had to be other people, I had to dress like other people and not have my own style and not be an individual. Feeling like all the karma that, or like all the things that I did bad in my past was all catching up to me. And like, this is all just like bad karma, just like not communicating with anyone in general. Or like, especially in the beginning of this year, and not having that type of voice that I should have, because a lot of the times this year, I wasn't getting treated the way that I should be. Like, this is like just like as like a friend, or like just like as a friend or as a person in general that that you say you care about. I didn't realize that I wasn't being treated like that until I really saw it and was starting to think more about myself. I had to find my own happiness. Maybe some of you guys out there are also finding your happiness. Some of you guys might think that I feel like everyone has their own outlet, whether it be like art, like painting, drawing, sketching, filming, I don't know, making TikToks, making jewelry, making clothes, playing outside with like friends or siblings, doing sports, having family time, with your whole family, having that close group of friends that you guys can FaceTime a lot, and you wouldn't feel like you're bothering them or anything. We all have our own kinds of happiness in our lives. And it sometimes is hard to find that type of happiness because after thinking that so many things were what made you happy, just for them to just for those things to not pan out the way that you thought they would and end up like hurting you, it kind of gets scary to try to find something else that will bring you joy because in a way you kind of get scared of, oh, is this not going to work out for me? Like I'm going to do this, or I'm going to start this thing, and then it's just gonna like not go as planned and it's gonna be sad like the rest of the year. But it's all in trial and error. I've tried so many things that to try and, not necessarily distract myself, but give myself, I guess, more purpose in a way. I know I have a purpose, but like to do stuff that I feel like can impact people. That's why I started baking. That's why I started, making some like song covers or whatever, because people, I guess, like the way I sing, I guess. So I started posting some singing covers. I tried to do YouTube. I don't know if that's going to keep happening, but like most importantly, I started this podcast. And I feel like this podcast is one of the first steps that I took for my own personal happiness. And it's honestly the one of the best decisions I made this year. But I think the most important and like the number one best decision I made this year was choosing myself. Like this whole year I wasn't choosing myself. I was not choosing myself. And that's not me genuinely choosing myself. Honestly, things kind of started falling into place. Like, no longer was I stressing, no longer was I, having all these other types of thoughts that shouldn't concern me in the first place. And like, they shouldn't have taken so much of my like brain space, I guess. Like, they were living rent free in my head. But once I started, really honestly choosing myself, I've been realizing so much. I finally looked up and saw the great things around me. I kind of talked about like what happened like recently during like Christmas time and all that in my last podcast. If you didn't listen to that already, that's like one of the examples. After choosing myself, I looked up and I saw so many great things around me that, like it makes me kind of emotional. After choosing myself, I kind of saw the beauty in how things change and that it's okay things change. It's okay people drift apart because what's more, it's like I feel like it's a beautiful thing when you reconnect with someone after so much time has passed. And things just feel the same way that they first did, and the chance that, with all of like any or all of the connections I've had with people before and that have like either walked out or walked back in, people come and go, but I still can't wait for the feeling when someone who had been an important part of my life for so long, friend or not friend, like comes in and we just reconnect. And that's amazing because after all that time, all the care, it's kind of like all that care and love pays off. It's like it's not forgotten. And that's like always one of my fears is that I'd be forgotten, by the people that everything I ever did for them would be forgotten. But like even if they did drift apart, when they come back and they do see everything you did or, give you what you've always like kind of wanted or wanted and more or deserved and more. I feel like that would honestly be so amazing. And I mean, I'm still trying to find more ways in order to make myself happy. some of the things that I want to do in 2021, and honestly, until I finish school, like finish and graduate from college. I want to pop off. I really want to pop off and, strive. And you guys have heard it in other podcasts, but I really want to get into this nursing program. And I just really want to get to that level and, just because I know that it's going to be worth it at the end. And I know that me choosing my own happiness will get me there. It will push me to get there. And other things, to find my own happiness, reaching out to new people, reaching out to old friends, maybe like doing things I never thought that I'd be into, like just like going up randomly to people. Well, when I say it like that, not in the way that I just said it, but just like being more out there, meeting new people, finding new friends, people who have things in common with me, and all that type of stuff. Like the world is so big. It like I know I haven't really seen the world too much, but the world is so big. So many people on this earth. There's so many things that we could do. So many things we could see. So many people that can make us happy. I feel like a lot of the times we spend time dwelling on the same few people that, that weren't really making us the most happy, instead of trying to find those people that make us happy, because they're out there. You just gotta find them. It's gonna be different for everyone when it comes to finding your own happiness. But once you start, getting on one thing that makes you happy, it will eventually lead to finding something else that makes you happy, finding new people that will make you happy, And I feel like once you start living for yourself, who knows, the people that were meant to be in your life come back. New people that are meant to stay in your life forever that you didn't think would ever come into your life, they come into your life. And, I feel like it's just all going to be worth it at the end. Also, another thing, like, I think this is like the opening and closing lines of Hello, Love, Goodbye, the movie that I was talking about earlier. So this movie is set in Hong Kong, and it's kind of, yeah, it's about just like, because there's a lot of Filipino workers that go to Hong Kong to work. So the first few lines go like this: some places we stay in forever, some places are near stopovers, just like Hong Kong. So you have to make the most out of your time because no one stays here forever. And like hearing that in the beginning and the end, after witnessing everything in between and then hearing that again at the end. It's so true to how life is. And kind of like all of us are like our own Hong Kong. People come into our lives and stay forever. Some people stop into our lives for a chapter or two or three, however many, but eventually they fly out, particularly forever. But you just got to make the most out of your time with those people, those experiences. You just got to make the most out of your time, and really taking your time with those people during those moments, really making the most out of all those moments. You're going to live life to the fullest. And I feel like that's something we all want to do, is live life to the fullest. And you can't live your life to the fullest without, loving yourself, you can't do any of that without, you can't do any of that without your own happiness. I guess with this whole list that I made, it was a lot of it came out of a lot of anxiety, a lot of, a lot of bad memories, a lot of things that I felt like I could have stopped when I think about it now. Like I could have stopped it, but I didn't. And instead of dwelling on me not stopping it back then, all I could do is push forward. And hopefully you guys kind of do that as well. You know, there's a lot of hard things that we went through. There was so many hard things that a lot of us went through. So instead of dwelling on the hard things that we went through, we gotta see towards that future, but live in the moment, I guess. Does that even make sense? You live in the present, you think about the present, and you think about the future. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but I guess with everything I kind of said about 2020, it was a ride. It was a nightmare. It was a dream. I don't know. But I can wholeheartedly say that I am not the same person that I came into 2020 as. And when I first thought about it like that, I wasn't proud of it. I'm like, I've changed so much. Like, how is this a good thing? But kind of talking on here about everything I kind of went through and all these like things that I just said, I am honestly so proud of myself for sticking through it this whole year. Like with everything that I've been through this whole year, and if you guys know me personally, like you guys know more about like in depth of anything that's like went on in my life. But just in general, things were very difficult for me, as were many of your guys' lives too during this whole year. Like 2020 was just difficult, but I'm so proud that I got through it. And I'm so glad that I realized stuff that was beneficial to me, beneficial to my mental health, beneficial to my future, and beneficial just to like, yeah, just beneficial to me. And I hope you guys can kind of feel that in a way too in your guys' lives. Hopefully you guys like are proud of the people you guys have become throughout this year. I really wish that you guys are I wish that you guys feel that way too about any changes that you guys went through and maybe like how they made you stronger as people. This episode was kind of like my let go of all of the things that kind of hold bad memories to me. So with this whole episode, I kind of just like vented everything out in order to start this new year, 2021. And I hope you guys can kind of do that too in some way, shape, or form. Like, really let go of this year and move forward to whatever great things that could happen in 2021. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for showing me support for the past few episodes. I genuinely appreciate it so much. I can't express how much I appreciate each and every one of you for listening and supporting me. And, like hopefully my talks kind of give you another perspective. I always like say, like give you a different perspective or anything like that. But I really hope that you guys can get to know me more from this podcast as well as, think about yourself and reflect on your own personal growth. Because, what's life without personal growth? So, yeah, thank you so much for listening to the fifth and final episode of Tea Time with the Boba Baddie for 2020. And I'll catch you guys in 2021 with the next podcast. I am streaming now on Anchor, Spotify, as well as YouTube. So go subscribe to my YouTube channel if you guys want to listen to. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.